Hello, I am Marco Souza, president of Musimagem Brazil and director of this Musimagem Festival. We are here in Curitiba, south of Brazil. We are very happy to be here with European composers. Uh, by my side, Zeneto, also composer and member of the direction of Musimagem, João Batista Melo, and the idea is talk with uh, three composers from Europe that we will introduce now. Zeneto, can you introduce Jocelyn Pook that are here?
With pleasure, with pleasure. Jocelyn, Pook or Pook? How should we
Pook.
say? Pook, because
Yes.
Pook would be
No, not
something like
Poke.
that.
No.
You don't.
It's
You
an
don't poke.
unusual name. It's an unusual name, even in England.
Oh, but it sounds so good. Oh, well, she's an English composer and violist. Jocelyn Pook has an established and a very versatile career, including work for theater, film, opera, and concert hall. Internationally recognized, she has received several nominations and awards, including a BAFTA, the British Academy of Film and Television Arts, Golden Globe, Olivier Olivier, and the two British Composer Awards. Her most famous film work was the original score for Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut, which earned her a Chicago Film Award and a Golden Globe nomination, not domination, nomination. But well, she was dominating in some way too. But well, a book has worked with some of the world's leading directors, musicians, artists, and art institutions, including Martin Scorsese, the Royal Opera House, BBC Proms, Andrew Motion, Peter Gabriel, Massive Attack, and Laurie Anderson. How cool is that? Fantastic, fantastic.
Great. Jocelyn and Ella, do you know that Musimagem Festival is the only festival in Americans about soundtracks? And also Gorka is a Spanish journalist told us that it's the only festival made by composers. We are composers doing this festival. And then here with you is a great pleasure. Now I will talk about Ella van der Woude. Is a Swiss Dutch composer with an increasingly impressive number of film scores for her name. She has composed soundtracks for award-winning films such as Armand by Halfdan Ullman-Tøndel, winner of the Caméra de Cannes 2024. Take Me Somewhere Nice by Ena. I try to say the name, but it's Sandra.
Sendijarević.
Okay, thank you. And Stintek by Halina Reijn. In 2022, she became the first female recipient of the Best Music Award of the Dutch Film Festival, her soundtrack to Moloch. Moloch is the name of the movie. Most recently, she has scored the films Above the Dust by Wang Xiaoshuai, Berlinale 2024, and the Alpha by Jan-Willem van Ewijk, Venice 2024. While classically trained, Ella has also been a founding member of various indie pop bands. She combines all this experience and influence in both her movie scores and her own music. Thank you, Ella. Thank you, Jocelyn. And then, João, do you want to start and ask them? Diego arrived? No, not yet. Okay, Renan, if Diego arrived, please tell us by WhatsApp or somehow.
Well, I will start with one question for Jocelyn.
Can I take it up for Jocelyn? Because her name is Jocelyn. You're calling her Josephine.
I wasn't hearing that. I was hearing, but it's the
good. Oh, good.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's Jocelyn, but I think that's hard to pronounce in Brazilian.
Right.
Yeah.
It's similar.
Jocelyn, one of the most famous movies in Brazil that you work is the Kubrick, the Eyes Wide Shut. And Kubrick was a great director, made wonderful movies, but I think that Kubrick was a dangerous person for composers, for soundtrack composers. Yeah, of course, you know the story of 2001, but
Yes.
I will resume because in the public maybe someone don't watch. Kubrick always loved the the classical music, and he wants classical music for the soundtrack of 2001. But the producers want a original soundtrack. And Alex North was invited to make this a new soundtrack for a new music for 2001 soundtrack. And he discovered that the movie has only classical music in the premiere of the movie. Then my question for Jocelyn Pook is how was work with Stanley Kubrick? It was a dangerous situation.
Yes, I was very familiar with that story about Alex North. And the worst bit, I think, is that nobody told him, as far my understanding is that nobody told Alex North that his music hadn't been used. And he came to the premiere not knowing. So I think that is a really sad story from his point of view. So I was familiar with that, and to be honest, when I was so shocked that I was working with Stanley Kubrick. It was such an unexpected situation for me because I hadn't ever done a scored a film before. How he heard my music was very coincidental. You know, it was completely a shock. I'd started writing some music for TV, but I wasn't very experienced, you know, and so yeah, it was. I didn't have huge expectations for when I first got contacted by Stanley. He had heard by chance this album of mine, which a choreographer had was using for the rehearsals. The choreographer was working on Eyes Wide Shut, and she was using it for rehearsals. And he heard my music because of that. And then he called me immediately because one of the tracks sounded very suitable for the masked ball scene, which is what they were working on. And when I was first kind of hired to work on Eyes Wide Shut, it was purely for that scene, the masked ball scene and the orgy scene. So I didn't expect to actually score the whole film. Which was probably a good thing because I think I would have been too overwhelmed. Yeah, so I began just with that particular sequence and not having huge expectations. I thought, well, maybe he'll use it, maybe he won't. But then later it kind of it fell into place, and then later on, and if it was about a year later, I was invited back to do the rest of the music for the rest of the original music for the film. So it was luckily in stages that I worked with him. And I have to say, people are always asking me, what was it like to work with Stanley? wasn't he really difficult? Didn't he have a really bad temper? But actually, because he was so passionate about music, he was so he had all the time in the world for music, musicians, and composers. He was it was actually a joy, because all he wanted to do was to share ideas about music he was listening to. I think I probably saw the very best side of him. So yeah, I had a very pleasant experience working with him. I could never say anything negative, because I really had the best experience.
Great, great. Ella, how was the music in your life when it started, and also when you started in this environment of soundtracks?
So I guess like music was always part of my life in some way, because I grew up around musical parents who weren't taught musicians, but they were like in my mom's family, they were singing a lot together, and my dad was a self-taught guitar player, and he was playing a bit of piano as well. So it was living around the families, and I picked it up at a very early age and was just playing on everything that was laying around, and ended up choosing to the piano as my main instrument, and did classical piano lessons for a long time. And well, after that, I've been playing more in the pop world. So I founded my own bands and toured for a long time. But somehow this rhythm of touring and of making a record and bringing it to the world and repeating the same music over and over again was not completely satisfying my. I wanted to create at a higher pace, and like in all honesty, like there was also like this master in composing for film in Amsterdam, and I had a bachelor at the pop department, which only allowed I think I had only 2 masters that I could choose out of. And then I thought, well, it would be interesting actually to see. I had the sense that with film music, like with soundtracks, I could also combine all kind of different music styles and languages that I was in touch with throughout my life. And so it was kind of a little bit by accident. It's not like something that I always thought I would do. I didn't grow up with television, so I wasn't aware of a lot of films. So I guess my film culture was a bit behind as I got started with making film music, and it's something that I developed later on. But it's it's a mean that worked really well to combine like all the different aspects of music that I played and enjoyed doing. And it came also from the outside world. Kind of every project I worked on was going well. The collaborations were nice, and then you get asked for another project, and it develops in this way.
Hello, it's a great pleasure to have all of you guys here, and it's very good to see that women are more and more making part of this market that it's traditionally dominated by men, and it's very good to here at the Musimagem we make a lot of attention. We pay attention to that, and we try to propose more activities and to expose more women working this. Well, something wrong here. Sorry. I'm sorry. You have a hammer? Just a sec. Sorry. I don't know how and how. Just a sec. stupid. It's really stupid. I tried to. That's why I was looking for a hammer, you know. Well, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Well, and my question is how you see this kind of things, this kind of thoughts I just exposed here. If you have some movement there in United States or United Kingdom to promote more and more the participation of the women in this market.
Are you asking me or both of us, or
Well,
do you
you
want
go
to give
first.
it a go?
Oh well, for
Okay.
both of you, for both
Okay.
to the girls, well, to the girls. Yeah, you can answer. You can answer. You can answer.
Yeah.
Too. Would be nice.
I see that there's a lot of there is an effort, and I think it's very much needed to have like an active effort from institutions and funds and schools to support women more, for sure. So I definitely support that. I think the Netherlands is still have a big lack of women composers, and it's you see a change. It's like it's slowly starting to evolve, and it's still like it's very, very slow, but it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, I think it's definitely changed a huge amount in England in the last 20 years. So I'm seeing so many more younger female composers. But I guess it's had to be a kind of conscious decision as well to sort of promote, as you say, sort of encourage and promote young, women. And I'm similar to you in that my background was as a player, and then quite a lot in pop. But because I had what I would been interested in composing, but at that time, this was 30 years ago, it really was. I was very intimidated by the the kind of that world, and I just thought, well, that's not for the likes of me. You had to be a concert pianist and a sort of conductor, and it was generally dominated by men. So I kind of shied away from the idea of continuing composing, which I had been interested in doing, and just kind of went the performer route. But actually it was through pop music and also playing in new music ensembles, discovering kind of this post minimalism, kind of all these tonal composers. But and it was also through playing in theatre. It gave me the confidence to think, actually, there's all these people writing actually very good music who don't even read music, who aren't classically trained. And yet they can do it. So actually, it was through that world that it gave me the confidence to go back to composition, which I'd been always interested in. So I think I might have gone a different route had I grown up in a different time. I was kind of, it was a slow kind of process for me, but it's good to see the change now, and I hope that's kind of a general change, because it's certainly in England, there's a lot of female composers, and I don't know if you're aware that we've got our first Black female composer, master of the King's music, which is
Cool,
kind of
cool.
very old-fashioned
And
post.
how do you feel any problems? I mean, and resistance in about being a woman in this environment? Have you felt any resistance or something like that? Some prejudgment or something like that? Have you felt this?
I think I have experienced that some time ago. I hadn't quite seen it like that, because as a woman, you're used to certain kind of behavior, particularly at that time when I was young. So yeah, I would say I had seen a bit of patronizing behavior and whatever, but not a lot. I have to be honest. I've worked in environments that with especially in collaborative kind of environments, which are that generally healthy healthy attitudes. Yeah.
Yeah, we had here online also Rachel Portman participating in our festival, and Debbie Wiseman, no, and Laura.
In the last year, we had 3 composers from International Alliance of Women Composers or something like this.
The Alliance for Women Film Composers, yeah. They're everywhere now. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I would like to know how was also the creation process and the other process in your first really movie, original music, and the most challenging also process and project that you both did.
So I think like it took me a long time and a lot of films to finally dare having my own process in a way. Because I think like first I was very much putting myself at the service completely of the director and of the team, which I'm still doing, but now I have a bit more confidence to also and a bit more experience to know what kind of process I like to have, and so that has evolved a lot since I've started working. But I guess like the biggest challenge when you start out is finding a way to communicate, to talk about music with directors. The composer-director relationship is all about communication, I would say. And it takes a while to understand the process of that relationship, or like the dynamic of that relationship. And so like you kind of throw yourself into a process which you're not sure what it's gonna look like. So I do have some kind of preference for a certain kind of process, and in my case that would be jumping in an early stage of already script writing, so we can already have conversation about what kind of role the music could play, or what would that be, what if it would be a character in itself, if it would have a narrative role, or just even if there's no space for this conversation, I like to read along and to already develop my own ideas based on reading rather than on watching the images. And then so I would make already like a first batch of sketches, like, and develop like textures. I worked very much textures based, so I will gather sounds that I feel will help me build the soundtrack, and from there I will start building the music. But I kind of like to have the first ideas thrown out just for myself, even if nobody is waiting for that. I want to have done that before starting a conversation process, so that I still have like the most intuitive reaction that I can have to the story, and then develop that, and ideally have already like a musical structure laid out by the end of the picture log. But it happens also really often that I'm, for example, asked later on when the editing is already done, or that you try getting in early, and it's not the kind of film that needs that. So you also kind of need to go along with the kind of process that the film is asking for, and stay open and attentive to that, and just go along with what the needs are of the film and the collaboration, I would say. And I guess like maybe this has evolved a bit more, is like being attentive to these signs for like, okay, now maybe it's just best to leave it at rest. Like there's nothing for me to do at the moment. Like it's not helping anyone, and it might be better to keep my juice and my intuition on the film for later on, when there will be more space for the music to be spoken about, and to have like a process with the director. And I guess like every film is very different, and the more experience you get, the more it's easier for me to lean into the process and just trust the way it will go. If that answers your questions.
Yeah, I would agree that every process is so very different. And I mean, sometimes you have the luxury of having, reading the script and having all that time before the film shot. But more often, for some reason, the film film productions, they leave the music till the very end. So often you just kind of, it has to be done in a big rush, and it's almost been, the fine cut's been done already. And so it's kind of really varies from one extreme to the other. I don't know if that you found that, but and it's much more satisfying if you're brought in earlier on in the process, of course. And for me, I kind of started with composing in very collaborative kind of projects with mainly in theatre, but very experimental theatre, which were almost like film kind of projects. They're very visual. I was working a lot with visual theatre, and I'm glad to have had that sort of start in the training, if you like, in working in collaboratively. But films really vary, I find, for what space there is to have that kind of relationship. Because, for instance, I work a lot with a dancer in England called Akram Khan, a choreographer, and he sometimes, what's really satisfying collaboratively is if you also kind of, if it's a two-way collaborative, and your kind of response to the ideas or the themes actually also influence your collaborator, so that can happen particularly in dance. I find I come up with sketches that then he has an idea for, that but I guess I find that less so in film, but more conventional film, it can happen, but only if you're brought on very early on, and but you were asking as well, what was the most challenging? I mean, for me, I guess Eyes Wide Shut, because I was really thrown in the deep end, and I was relatively inexperienced. But also, that was a really nice situation in that I was brought in before they even shot some of the film, and they actually shot, for instance, the masked ball scene. They shot to the music, which is so unusual, and that's really, really nice to have that kind of influence, I guess, and freedom. But and also another film for me, which was very challenging, was The Merchant of Venice, which directed by Mike Bradford, which because there was musicians in Vision, I had to do a lot of some of the music had to be kind of mimed to. So I had to kind of create the music as they were shooting. And it was kind of 20 years ago, and there wasn't, I can't quite believe it actually, but there wasn't there's email kind of sending sketches by email, and I had to send these CDs by DHL. Oh, because they were shooting in Luxembourg. And I mean, the pressure, I never forget. I was up late kind of writing you know, a piece that was going to have to be performed in mimed to in the film the next day. It was never, I mean, never been under so much pressure in my life. But yeah, it was certainly exciting and very challenging.
Great. Akrakan is amazing. I know him and the company. Is music with dance is amazing. When I was living in Netherlands, I did my master improvisation of piano with modern dance. And Ella, I did some improvisations with some dancers from Scapino Ballet. I was with also a choreographer of a Dutch Netherlands dance theater that is also amazing group, and also in Arnhem, Introdance also is a great company, and I use as a pianist, I use always my piano to create the soundtracks, and also I did a lot of improvisation with dance alive. With modern dance is amazing process also. Zenet.
Well, the same. I think it's an interesting question. Have it happened to you, for both of you, that you just refused to be part of a project, that you received a invitation and said, "No, I don't want to be part of this film for any reason"? Does it happen to you, both of you?
Yes. I can't cope with too much violence. So yeah, that
No
I
names,
did
no names.
I did turn a film down because of it just I just knew I couldn't stomach it.
Yeah, you just can't do it all. Also, like I do like to have a lot of headspace for the films that I'm working on. So I would tend, like, luckily now I'm in a position where I can kind of choose the films that speak to me most, and I'm interested in bringing to life some stories with a perspective that is surprising or exciting to me. And so yeah, I also refuse sometimes some projects, unfortunately.
In any of the situations, there was a musical concerning about, well, I can't do this kind of music or something like that.
So I didn't quite understand the question.
Yeah, well, the thing that the reason that you refused one of these invitations was a music reason, like, well, I don't like this kind of music they are asking for, or
yes,
I don't feel comfortable with this kind of music or something like that.
I have been approached for some films where the music was obviously very, for example, hip hop minded, and I mean I love hip hop, but I'm not a great hip hop producer, so I just thought maybe I'm not the best person for it. And yes, like, yeah, it happens. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Who's here?
No, I was just going to add that I'm quite lucky because I generally have only been asked to do I've generally only been asked to do projects that are kind of that for my musical voice. So usually the director knows my music. I haven't had that. Only once in a theatre project I had that situation where I think the director, because the original director who'd asked me to be involved had to pull out, and then there was a new director who didn't really know my music and completely wanted something completely different and inappropriate to what I do. So yeah, but it's luckily I haven't had that situation come up very often.
Cool. Now, guys, we have now Diego Navarro with us. Hello, Diego. How are you? Welcome. Well, Diego Navarro, just introducing you to the rest of the gang. Diego Navarro is one of the most renowned Spanish composers of film scores. His music he scored for more than 24 films, such as Pasaje al Amanecer. I hope it's well said, and The Photographer of Mauthausen, maybe, earned him nominations for the prestigious Gaudi Awards and World Soundtracks Awards. He's the creator and musical director of Filmusité, a soundtrack festival based in Tenerife. It's a beautiful island, by the way, we knew it. And one of the most important in Europe. Welcome, Mr. Diego Navarro.
Hi,
We can
Diego.
hear you.
Your sound, say something because I don't know. Ah, you are mute.
Now you hear me? Yes, you hear me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello, welcome, Diego, our partner of festivals.
Thank you so much. Sorry for the delay, but living really hectic and crazy times here. But so happy to be here again, once again in Musimagem, Brazil.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about your when you start the soundtracks music in your life, and after that you can talk a little bit also the Tenerife Festival, how is, when will you go there, and when you come in Brazil.
Well, I would really love, you know that. So next time I hope to be there. I really love your country. It's such a fascination I have for Brazil and from Brazilian music, by the way. So really very much looking forward being there. Hopefully very soon. Well, my passion concerning film music. I mean, I always was passionate about music and film music. I remember myself when I was a little kid going out after the school to my house, walking with my school backpack, listening in my head, scores, film music, and scores from the greatest masters from Jerry Goldsmith, Ennio Morricone, Alex North, Bernard Herrmann, whatever, you name it. And I really discovered, together with, of course, Mozart, Beethoven, Brahms, Mahler, etc. No, but I discovered that the amazing relationship in between film and music, and how the composers can also can literally do cinema through their music, So that relationship to me was really fascinating when I was a kid, and I remember myself, my most precious thing, together with going to concerts, was just to every weekend to go to the cinema and watch movies in the cinema, In the cinema, I used to go sometimes twice, Saturday and Sunday, I remember going, to have lunch with my grandfather and grandmother with the family, and right after lunch, everybody in the family, they knew that I was going to the cinema, yes or yes. So that relationship between image and music fascinated me a lot since I was a little thing. And well, I started writing music when I was a kid also. I premiered my first piece with 11, 12 years in concert. It was a duet for two guitars, I remember. And I always had music, in my mind since I remember. So I can tell and I can confirm that somehow I knew that in order to be able to try to be happy in life, the only way, to me at least, was to push myself in order to be a film music composer. And here I am. I mean, developing my career as a composer, orchestra conductor around the world, conducting film music, and through Filmusité, the Tenerife International Film Music Festival in the Canary Islands, which is nowadays the oldest film music festival in the world. Next year, we will be celebrating our 19th edition. It's, as you told, as you named, as you mentioned, it's a worldwide film music festival. We have received, so many amazing codecs and composers from around the world, from different cinematographies. We have celebrated the official Universal Pictures Centennial Concert in 2012, which I had the honor of conducting, a historical concert in terms of film music. The only one celebrated that year, not in the Hollywood Bowl in LA, but in Tenerife in the festival. And this year we celebrated our maturity, our adult year, 18th, with a huge celebration of the greatest musicals in film history, with such an incredible success. It has been the most successful edition in the history of the festival, with all the concerts and productions held with more than 1 month and a half before every production, every concert. And the closing night gala concert was a crazy thing in the Tenerife Auditorium with the Tenerife Symphony Orchestra and the Tenerife Film Choir, the choir of the festival. We received 15 standing ovations in one concert. It was crazy. An X-File. It was, the first time in my career that in a concert, we received 15 standing ovations, full house. It was very, very, very impressive, no? And we also had, of course, the live to picture of La La Land in concert with my friend Justin Harwich that came to Tenerife in order to conduct himself the Tenerife Symphony Orchestra with an incredible jazz ensemble we created just for the concert together with the orchestra. Another amazing concert, another amazing success this year. And now preparing the press conference that will take place in December, mid-December approximately, in order to announce the main concerts of the 19th edition. And meanwhile, scoring like crazy, just premiering 2 upcoming animation movies. I have scored in December 2 movies like crazy, Super Clouds and Black Butterflies. And now scoring another project that I will be recording in Prague next Saturday. So really busy and really hectic times here. And with the premiere tonight here in Tenerife in cinema of, not premiere, it's the pre-premiere of Black Butterflies, one of the animation movies that will be premiering in cinemas in December.
Wow. A lot. You can stay only a few minutes and then you can go. But we are talking here with 3 composers in Europe, and after this meeting, we will be with Luis Vaz from Spain, your friend. Also, he is here, and also with EXA, the Composers Alliance, to talk about buyout, IA, inteligência artificial, okay, in inglês, IA. And many stuffs. But I would like to know how about Ella in the Netherlands, Jocelyn in UK, and you in Spain. How is the scenery of soundtracks work or market or business? How is now in Europe the environment and the situation? Maybe Jocelyn, Ella, and Diego can talk, please.
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure. It seems fairly healthy to me. There seems to be a lot going on, but I guess it's, to be honest, it's more TV stuff. It's these kind of big series that seem to be dominating things. Actually, I'm working on a film at the moment, which I guess I prefer film work, but and I'm very happily working on a film with Julio Medem, a fellow Spanish director, which I'm very much enjoying. Yeah, so I think that's, for me, that would be more a question for my agent, who would have a lot to say about what's happening now, and I feel a bit, you know, I mean, for me, film is I love it, but it's not the only thing I do. I also you know, I have projects in other mediums, and I really enjoy the variety. So I guess yeah, there has been for me perhaps more theatre and dance than film, but so I don't know if that's a reflection in general, but yeah, there seems to be a lot, loads and loads of TV series being made. That's the thing I'm seeing a lot of.
I think the biggest concern around composers in the Netherlands, about media composers, has been the streamers that are kind of dominating. Yeah, like their practice have been changing quite a bit, because they could rely on like royalties and but can't anymore, because the streamers have a different kind of they pay differently. But like, as for me, that's what I hear. But I work in art house cinema mostly, so in that sense, like there is not a lot of like there's not a lot of royalties coming in from art house films, so I don't see a big difference in that sense. But yes, I guess I mean everyone is busy. I feel like after COVID there has been a little bit of a setback for everyone that had like an impact on the business, for sure. Yes, something like that.
Well, here, I mean, in Spain, there is I mean, a lot of projects coming up in the industry. Of course, you know, when the platforms appeared in the country, that was well, interesting thing for the industry here in Spain, because well, more projects being developed. So that means, at least in theory, more opportunities, no? In theory. No? In my particular case, I am just now especially focusing on movies, scoring movies. Of course, always welcome, no? if the interesting TV show comes and appears, but nowadays mostly focusing on scoring movies and well, living after a lot of years of career, living a sweet moment, no? A beautiful moment. In Spain, we have a saying, no? Which is after giving so much, now it's time to start, you know, receiving. No, so happy with you know, with the projects I am developing and writing, and sometimes to me it's complicated because it's career split in three. I mean, in three sections, three parts. My main career as a composer, which is for me the absolute priority. But then I have a career as a conductor also, conducting in my festival and other concerts or festivals around the world. And then being the director and founder of Musiceo, of my festival. You know? So I have to split my year into those three different portions, which is sometimes very, very complicated. I remember last year, for example, when I signed the contract with Super Claus, one of the animation movies, beautiful Christmas adventure comedy for family that it's been released in December in just a few days. I remember when I signed the contract, I talked to the producers, incredibly excited in order to have the opportunity of scoring this international co-production. But remember that my festival is in July, and that I must start scoring, writing the music in a certain week in a certain month, because otherwise I could collapse with my festival that will take place in July, you know. Well, unfortunately, a lot of things happened, animations, stories concerning the render of the rendering process of the movie, etc. Boom. So the schedule was finally pushed, and I started scoring the movie in June, mid-June, and the festival was July, mid-July. So it was really, really, really crazy to me. And the recording, the scoring sessions took place in August, no? So it was really complicated to me to be able to combine all those worlds and dimensions in order to be able to make it happen. But at the end, with a lot of stress, I could do it, and well, we are releasing the movie in just 9 days.
Many years ago, I knew the Jocelyn Pook work in the classical music, and after this, I discovered the wonderful soundtracks works of Jocelyn Pook. I knew first the work of Diego Navarro as a conductor, was one of the main soundtrack conductors in the world. And after this, I discovered the work in soundtracks of Diego Navarro. I knew that ella has or have pop bands and is classically trained. Then I am thinking two questions or in two factors. The first, an ancient question about if the soundtrack is a minor genre, lower than classical music, for example. And the second is the soundtrack composition is a process with many press, is usually pressing work. And sometimes there are many people that want control the work, producers, directors, and many times we listen expressions how I have the soundtrack composition career and I have my career in classical music, in conducting, pop. How do you think about these questions? How do you conciliate your career in soundtrack and your career? Are there some separation? Are there some frontier for you for the three?
The question is for Jocelyn or for myself, or for Ella?
Everybody.
Everybody, okay. Okay. Oh, ladies.
Jocelyn, yeah, Jocelyn, Ella, and Diego is the same.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't differentiate in a way. I mean, I guess, but there's limitations are, I think well, two things. I think I've been lucky in that I'm usually asked, as I mentioned before, by directors who really know my music. So I'm usually, because I'm not a kind of pastiche composer, I don't do lots of different styles. I just do my thing. I guess I adapt it. But usually I get asked for my musical voice by directors. They want what I do, I think. And so that's one thing. So I've been quite lucky. I don't feel I have to compromise musically. But I do, the compromise, I think, is in terms of the kind of cues that you have for films. More often they're very short, you know, you don't get the kind of expansion that you would get in perhaps I would get in a dance work or just a purely kind of concert piece. So, but often and I probably the others, you know, you kind of go down a musical path, and then you kind of, even the film might only require kind of these short cues, but you kind of expand and do a kind of long version for the soundtrack. But I mean, sorry, I've forgotten. I think I'm going off off the point. But I feel yeah, that in terms of, is there a kind of compromise? I would say not so much, only in that the kind of shortness of these cues, you know, that sometimes that gets a bit frustrating in film work.
Yeah, I think like I do like a deadline, so in that sense, like I do enjoy having to work towards a certain goal. It helps me. Yeah, it helps me actually, and I'm lucky to be working in films that yeah, most of the time. I don't know. They're not putting me in a too difficult position time-wise. I feel like I still need to like feed the work with a practice of my own. So like those two things are moving in parallel to each other. And in the past couple of years, I've had maybe a little bit less time to work on my own music and to develop my something of my own. But like as for now, I'm making time for that as well, and just to also like have the possibility to be more adventurous in some way in music, because like in film you kind of have to also comply to the frame that is given to you. So I guess for the adventure part, it's nice to keep on doing also like autonomous work, also that doesn't need to be heard also by anyone.
Yeah. I would also add the big thing is that you're servicing the director's vision. You know, it ultimately with film, you are always in that service of a director's vision, and so yeah, there's more. Obviously, it's nice to have freedom and have one's own work alongside. So yeah, that's the big difference, I suppose.
I totally agree with Ella and Jocelyn. Of course, I mean, at the end, it all depends about concerning the director's opinion and vision and feedback. No? But we have to also try to give the director, I mean, how also we understand a certain scene, no? And of course, taking into consideration his idea from the very beginning, but also, you know, trying to incorporate, I think, our own conceptions and ideas that a lot of times hopefully can even surprise the director, no? But well, when you write concert music, of course you are totally free. There is no you know, nothing to, you're free. You're the composer, so you it's your own vision 100%. When you are working with a director, of course, it's the director vision, but we have to not forget always that the composer is also a co-author of the movie. You know, that's super important to you know, to think about that. and to improve that, no, because it's something that a lot of time, a lot of people, they even don't start thinking about that. You know, it's like, no, it's the director, is his movie. Yes, of course, it's his movie, but it's also the composer's movie. You know, it's co-author of the movie together with the screenplayer and with the one who creates the argument. You know. Concerning your question, Joao, talking about how if we can compare concert music with film music, and there have been, unfortunately, a lot of topics, all over the years, and for decades, certain persons and critics considering film music as a low form of art in terms of music, if we compare with contemporary music or with classical music. I don't agree. I mean, totally. I think that that's one of the things that in my festival we try to do every year, no? To demonstrate in an incredible venue with an incredible world-class orchestra that the well-written film music can be enjoyed in a concert hall, in a serious concert hall with a serious orchestra, for sure. No, there are a lot of incredible avant-garde orchestral techniques that we, the composers, used to we used to use when we score movies, a horror movie, for example, that are even more contemporary than a lot of avant-garde music that is being performed in our concert halls nowadays. No. So I think that there is really, of course, we have, I mean, as always, in every form of art, no? But I think that nowadays there is really no serious reason in order to consider film music as a, second or third. No. To me, from my point of view, is a big stupid thing, and this big stupid thought. And I mean, through the years, through all those 19 years in Filmcité, we have demonstrated to the audience that film music can be enjoyed apart from the even from the movie that was supposedly initially created for. No, so yeah, that's my thought.
Cool. It's interesting because the next question, which comes from Alexei Kurkjan, it's now our conductor here, it has to do with the things that it just told us, Diego, because we make music under demand to please the director and to help to tell the story, but sometimes these pieces, this music or even songs, they gain an independent life. And this question goes especially for Jocelyn from Alexei, as I told before, and talking about these pieces that gain independent life. Are you used to incorporate them in your repertoire to play with your band, with your ensemble? Does it happen very often or very rarely, or how you deal with that?
Gosh, yeah. The pieces, when I perform with my ensemble, some of the pieces, they had their original origin in film music, but some didn't. So they were really a mixture that I perform with my ensemble. And I guess, yeah, that's fun. But I'm not quite sure. In fact, the piece that I guess I'm most known for from film is the is the masked ball scene, the music, which I actually wrote before that that film. It was written. Sometimes all sorts of different things inspire music. You know, it can be, and it can be all sorts of sort of different, just an idea, you know, a color, or a scene in a film. But strangely enough, this that backwards priest's piece that was then developed for the Eyes Wide Shut masked ball scene was actually originally an idea for a dance theatre production about homophobia in the church. And it was never used for that dance piece, but it was like I ended up kind of developing it and putting it on my very first album, which was a kind of yeah, it wasn't a soundtrack album. It was just my first album as a recording artist, with kind of the people I was working with at the time, the singers and musicians, and it was called Flood. And yeah, so the journey of that piece, I mean, there's all sometimes, although it's very known for the scene in Eyes Wide Shut, it was actually originally completely written for something else, and then it was so right for, I guess, for that scene in the film, and it's kind of got this. It's my sort of the piece I'm best known for. And then when we perform it live, it's really nice because I've again developed it. I'm always developing pieces. Sometimes the seed was born in a film project, but then it gets developed after that, which is really, yeah, not quite a nice part of the process. And if I get the chance to perform live with my ensemble, I'm sort of developing things all the time.
And one of the things establish sometimes a relation of feedback, isn't it? I mean, your creation develops a little bit differently when you make music under demand. Doesn't happen. I mean, it changes the way you compose a little bit, and it can help the way you compose for yourself. Let's say it's very interesting. Well, Diego Navarro is leaving us right now. You have to say goodbye to Diego. Diego, thank you for coming.
I'm so sorry. I would have loved to be till the end, but I still need to keep writing because it's like, you know, we were talking about deadlines, so this is
don't tell us. You have to make a
Deadline
little adjustment in the soundtrack for the last minute.
This don't mention to me. No, I'm so happy, but I really have to need to work, and tonight is the premiere of the movie here in Tenerife, big one, and we will be performing also 2 pieces of my score live after the screen of the movie. So I need to attend the release of the movie as well, and keep writing a little bit. So thank you so much for having me. Big hugs and kisses to Ella and Jocelyn.
Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you.
Hope to meet you in person someday, and yeah, and thank you so much.
Good luck tonight.
Yeah, good luck.
So,
Bye-bye.
all the best.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Whatever. Well, yeah, okay. Well, it's interesting because we always talk about this kind of things. We have all around the world, we have the same concerns about the process, the creation, the relation with the directors and stuff. And the music is considered here in Brazil most of the time like post-production. So they do everything in film, they finish everything, they even colorize the film, and at last they call the composers with a very tight deadline, which I consider my best friend too. As Ella said, my best friend's a deadline. Like Christopher Young said, how long does it take to make a soundtrack for a film? He said, well, the time they give me to make the soundtrack. Well, my question is, how you deal with the temp tracks? Are you used to receive temp tracks? I think in Jocelyn's case, it would be a little difference because they always call her because of her specific style of music. But most of us, we would just make the things that we are asked for. And a lot of directors edit their films with temp tracks. How will you deal to receive the scene with the temp tracks? Are you bothered with that? And how you deal with that? Please, all of you, two it's already gone. Okay. Two girls, deal with that. Thank you.
So I do get temp tracks sometimes. I always want to watch the film first without music. If there will be temp tracks, it's mostly because I'm asked later on in the process, so the film would have been edited already, and they would have used music. So the first time I watched the film, I would want to watch it without music at all, so that I can really look at it in a fresh way. And because I guess like the danger of temp track is that you will watch it and just like, yeah, this is great, like this works. So what else do you need from me?
Yeah.
So I'd rather like take it all off and then like develop some themes, like ideally like develop some ideas that I will try to patch roughly throughout the film and see if that would stand and keep standing in the whole. So because like the beauty of having a composer for your film is that the music will be there will be a thread, there will be a consistency throughout the whole film, rather than if you're temping maybe with only Beethoven sonatas, maybe there will be a line as well, but so you kind of want to I don't want to talk about them until I need to, because at some point then sometimes you have a scene that you can't really figure out the right dynamic for, and then there's always something to be learned from temp tracks as well. So like when something works, mostly like it works for a reason, and it doesn't work. It never really works completely, because it never really works because it has to be also considered into the whole film. So it rarely works completely. So I always try and ask the question to the director, like, what is it in the temp? I try to we figure out together what is it that works, and then that can be just like the tempo. It can be like a rhythm that moves forward or backwards, or it can be the spaciousness, or it. So I will try and find out what the elements are that works. If we get at that point where we need to talk about the temps.
Yeah. It's
That's
a very
good. And so you try to translate what emotion the director got attached to, and then to make your music. Maybe that.
I'll try. I guess like I'll try and be a bit more concrete than just talking about emotion, or because mostly like if a temp track like will stay rooted into a scene, it's mostly because it's it hits the right spot, but like it's also, you can try and take it apart, like for what reason, like what is it that makes it hit the right spot, and then trying to figure out what can be learned from the temp that you can also use in your own themes.
Sorry, Jocelyn, sorry. Go ahead, please.
Sorry, I didn't hear. Was that?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. I didn't hear what you just said. I wasn't sure what you just said.
Oh yeah, I said yours just because I just cut to you. As I said sorry, and please go ahead.
Yeah, no, well, I would agree totally with what Ella just said. I think it can be useful, but the problem is, or sometimes it can even be misleading. And then the director says, "Oh, actually, yeah, that was just, I didn't think that worked either." You know, so it's really it's complicated with the temp track. It can be helpful occasionally if you're kind of stuck for a particular understanding what's needed for a particular kind of scene. But yeah, always it's usually a hodgepodge of stuff that, so there's no cohesion. So it's but the problem with the temp track as well is that if the director gets attached to it, that's the problem. That's such a, and then they keep pushing you to do the same, and this is the great problem. However, I've had the opposite, where a piece of mine was used in a temp track for Gangs of New York, which was eventually, that's the reason I have this connection with Scorsese, but it was just because of that, because he just grew attached to this piece, and it was supposed to just be for the temp track, but then it was kept on, which was lovely for me.
Now
But
you're
usually,
a reference. Now you're becoming a reference. So that's cool too. How cool is that? Great.
but it can be so problematic, and I have a mixed relation with the temp track, very mixed. And more recently, what I try to do is, I try to provide a lot of my own cues that then they usually tempt the film with my music, which again, can have the same problem though, because I get influenced as well sometimes by the temp track, so it's yeah. I think you're right, Ella, that it's always good to see the film first without any music, and I always have a version without any music on it to work with. Yeah.
Well, we are going to the end of our lovely meeting. Thank you, all three of you. And we're going to end, unluckily. And if you have some final words, please, that's the time.
Well, I'm so glad to have met you, Jocelyn. And yeah, it's lovely. And thank you for inviting me today. I guess the last thing maybe I want to say is in regard to like the relationship composer director, like what I've been finding out more and more is like it works in a very similar way that it would work with like any kind of human relationship. So like if you come forward with your weaknesses or like with your like some tendencies, like for example, I'm a people pleaser, and if I would, like on the last film, that's one of the first thing I told the directors, like I'm a people pleaser, so if you're going to tell me to do something, I'm going to do it. And because he knew that I said that to him, he kind of like he was very conscious of that, and also stepped back at some point, because he was more interested in my intuition and in what I had to bring to the film rather than telling me what to do. So yeah, I guess it's also there's no need to try and be somebody who knows it all about, like, it's a discovery, and with each person again, and it's just a little adventure that you agree to go on together with. Yeah,
that's a nice way of putting it. And I think it's every process is so different, and every and that there's a different chemistry every time and every process. But yeah, you're always just trying to find your right thing, and sometimes it's quite a journey, sometimes it's not. It's a real kind of toing and froing and trying out different things, and it's not always kind of immediate success, you know. So I find every project has, you know, different challenges, and very rarely it's just, yes, plain sailing. It's always a lot of kind of toing and froing, as I can't think of a better way of putting it. But, and the other thing I also like to say is just thank you very much for having me. It's been a real pleasure to be part of this conference.
Great, thank you very much. And Ella, Matthijs Kibun, do you know him, the Dutch composer?
Yes.
Matthijs came here in person last year, and also he met and he knew Harry Gregson Williams here also. And then he told us, oh, I went to Brazil to meet Harry Gregson Williams, that I really like. And then it's fantastic that now you are with Jocelyn, that is also is a great composer. And then we are very happy to connect composers in the world, and Diego, and also imagine Laurence Rosenthal came here in the festival with 90 years old. Also Bruce Broughton, Christopher Young, many great composers that we share thoughts and experience, and some alcohol, some wine, rode wijn. And it's fantastic for us composers share with you, and thank you very much for participating in our 10th festival, Musimagem Festival, and hope that you both come here some festival, and in person, of course. And I would like to say thank you, and João also say goodbye.
Well, again, thanks by accept our invitation. Thanks for participating. It was an amazing time listening you talking about music, about your relationship with soundtracks, and we wish that it can repeat in the future in a short time. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you so much.
Tot
Thank you very
volgende
much.
keer. Tot volgende
Tot de
keer.
volgende keer. Tot ziens.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.